Hey everyone, welcome to the KE Report Daily Editorial. Friday, August 1st, chatting with Joel Elconin. Joel is the co-host of the PreMarket Prep show. He also is the founder of the Stock Trader Network. I'll post a couple links below this interview. Joel, we're chatting on Friday, and it's not a good day for markets at all. We have tariff news that everyone seemed to forget about this August 1st deadline. We also had some weak jobs data. This is all pushing markets down. They opened down between 1.5% to 2%, and they've pretty much stayed there all day. It does bring up the question, is this just another taco trade because of the tariff announcement, or are the jobs numbers worrisome and that maybe markets need to get more defensive after these recent all-time highs? What fence do you stand on there, Joel?
Yeah, all the above. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thanks for having me on this down Friday. Well, I was using, the term a Goldilocks market, right? And the three bears, and using that for a couple weeks in a row. Well, that's come to a resounding thud today. As you mentioned, there's a combination of factors affecting the market. The earnings yesterday, I mean, you just got to think, just yesterday, we were, riding the coattails of Meta and Microsoft, and those reports were met with sellers. The morning shot fired yesterday. Apple and Amazon come out today. Apple, well, it was holding up for a while, but I think the overall market dynamics are working on it, and that traded in a range between 207 and 215 for almost the entire month of July. You broke in the bottom of that range, of that long-term range today convincingly. You're now trading at 203. So concern there until that gets back above 207. You take all that and then you get a subpar jobs report, right? With, a drastic cut in religions, open unemployment picking up. And this is the backdrop earlier in the week where you had Powell, being pretty firm in his stance that he's not going to move in September. Now that certainly, that can change as well. But the perfect storm, to hit the market, hit it on the open today, trying to find a recovery. I think instead of like looking to buy the dip on this, I think you'd be more looking to, get some relief rallies and perhaps sell the rep.
Well, Joel, let's maybe put it in context, though. When you look at the market, yeah, it's down today on a Friday. It was down a little bit yesterday. Nobody likes to see accounts going down in the red. But when you think about it in context of back from the April lows when we saw the tariff tantrums, the markets have been on a ripping, roaring run here for the last couple of months. So, yeah, while we've shaved a little bit off, we were just at all-time highs just a couple of days ago. So maybe put it in context for us that, yes, we're seeing the end of the week slip a little bit, but that's after a blistering run higher the last couple of months.
Yeah, I mean, people tend to look at, they don't look at how far we've come off the lows. They tend to look at, well, oh, now we're this far off the high. Look how much money I lost. No, the response off that April low just, went far beyond people's expectations. You had the VIX kept on coming down, the ranges kept on coming down, just kind of lodge in. And the S&P is what my own personal VIX is like is the 9-day average trading range. And you had that go from a point where it was 100, 125, 130 handles a day, including the Globex session. It got down under 50, and just complacency. And that's what the market does to you. The option markets didn't have a lot of this volatility priced in. They certainly didn't, for the price action in Microsoft and Meta. They were both really big outside their expected moves. So once again, I mean, you got to look at things from the perspective of how far we're still off those April lows, and try and get rid of the mindset. Well, I should have sold yesterday. I should have sold the day before. Instead, look at where you're at with your holdings. There'll be, we just don't go straight down. We're just not going straight down to 6,000, or 5,800, or whatever downside level you get. There's always going to be counter moves. So I think an air of caution is warranted. Yesterday, today, I mean, I started to get cautious over a week ago, and it turned out to be too early. But the market definitely making a statement today.
Maybe this is just the start of a broader pullback. The only things that I see up today on my screen are the VIX. That makes sense. Bonds are getting a buy, so more of a defensive play, and gold. So it does seem like the market is positioning itself a bit more defensively. But Joel, is this just summer trading? Should we maybe expect a slower market into the next couple months?
Well, statistically, August has not been a great month for the markets, and that's playing out. Seasonality patterns. September and October, we all know what kind of moves have taken place in those months. So yeah, look, perhaps maybe a little bit more summer trading, but I mean, the money managers are still at their desk. There's still a lot of money managers that have been underinvested in this rally. They'll be looking to deploy their resources. You always have to think about, will the value trade come back? Will people want, their dividends? Yeah, your ultimate value stock. I'm looking at, Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway's trading up today. Some of your drug stocks, a little bit more insulated. We have the XLV trading up today. Also, if interest rates are in fact coming down, I mentioned the utilities. Look at these utilities still actually making a new all-time high today. So going with momentum, stocks like Detroit Edison at all-time highs. So there's places to hide in these kind of markets. You just have to be, yeah, just be careful with the rotation. But the most alarming thing is this move in the IWM down 2%, down more of the market. Well, you have the TLT trading up $1.
Well, Joel, to that point, we've heard some commentators on our show mention that the market breadth was narrowing some, and that there was more of a corralling into the larger mega cap names and into the large cap stocks overall compared to the mid cap and small caps. So when you think about that and you think about what you just said about utilities, are people going to safety now, maybe that are ringing the register on a really good run and are trying to go more into the value side of things? Or what do you think that trend is speaking to?
I mean, you, it's just been, it's just, it hasn't worked for so long, right? That there is a chance that they're pulling the money off the table and looking for looking for these stocks that at least you get some yield or and perhaps a little bit of capital appreciation. But I mean, you can go that route. I see Merck's trading up $1 and stuff, but I think if anything that's taught us is that a lot of these tech stocks seem to be immune to interest rates. You see the capital and capex expenditures going into AI research and the chips and the factories that need to the companies that need to build these factories to do it. That's where the money's been flocking to. So you can take stabs at the value trade and and get some yield, but when the market turns, where the money's going back into.
Yep, Reddit is also weirdly up about 20% today. So there are pockets to still make money in this market, but maybe just a little bit more defensive. But Joel, since this week was so heavy in terms of all the news, all the data points, and then, of course, Trump throwing his hat in the ring, what's coming up that we should watch out for that could be further catalysts, whether up or down for markets?
I mean, after this week, people will be looking for a week of calm, right? And then the following week is when you run into the inflation data. So maybe things will quiet down a little bit. Maybe, I know there's still negotiations going on with the tariffs. So get a little relief on the tariff talks, see if the taco stand is reopening, and then brace for the following week with the inflation data.
All right, Joel. Thank you as always for your time. Again, Joel Elconin, co-host of the PreMarket Prep Show. Click the links in the show notes to follow along with Joel and what he is trading. Joel, thanks for taking some time with us on this Friday.
Okay,